This is an interview with Ethel McMullen for the Youngstown Historical Center of Industry and Labor oral history project titled Women at Work. The interview is being conducted at the Youngstown Historical Center of Industry and Labor, known as the Steel Museum, on April 14th, 2023, and my name's Nicole Marino.
What's the last name?
My last name's Marino.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Ethel, where did you and your family live when you were growing up?
I have always been on the west side. I was born on the west side.
Mm-hmm. And what did your parents do for a living?
My mother was a housewife. My father worked in the steel mill.
Which mill did he work in?
U.S. Steel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the only one.
Where did you go to high school?
Cheney High School, Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah. When did you graduate?
1944, June.
And you graduated, did they have A track and B track when you were in high school? Was that a thing that?
It started when I went in the 9th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I take that back. For special students, they did.
Okay. I was just curious because my mom has told me about that and they don't do that anymore, so I just thought I would ask. After high school, what did you do?
I started working immediately at Tuscon Steel.
Well, it was called what steel company is it?
Trescon.
Trescon. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And that was your very first job. What was your job title there?
Just a welder.
Just a welder?
Yes.
You said just a welder. You were a welder. Did you ever go on to college or anything after school? Or you just went right to work?
No, I went right to work.
Okay.
The job was available when I graduated because I just happened to know somebody, a few people that worked at, they called it at the time, the employment office.
Mm-hmm.
It was on South Avenue.
And you knew them? Is that how you found out that job was available?
Yes.
Okay.
I just happened to be at the right place with the right people.
There you go.
We belong to the same church.
Okay. And what led you to seek out that kind of employment?
I just happened to be in the right place.
It just came to you.
I wasn't really looking, because truthfully, that was the first job I had.
Uh-huh. What training did you receive? What training did you get when you took that job?
Not any.
None?
No.
Okay. How did you learn how to weld?
It was almost like self-taught position.
Okay. They said, here's your spot, you do this?
Right. I mean, they were in dire need because it was, they wasn't sure when the war was going to be over.
Mm-hmm. And the war was on, and they were just looking for bodies, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Able-bodied workers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most of the men were gone anyway.
Yeah. Once you were in there, did they give you any training along the way?
They had a few fellows, I guess they didn't pass their physical or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that were there, but not necessarily formal training.
Okay. How long were you there doing that?
We were there 2 weeks after the war was over.
Mm-hmm. And then you were done working there?
Yes.
Okay. Did you? We'll talk about your welding spot. So, what specifically did you do as a welder there?
I welded the tread for the tanks.
Mm-hmm. And you stayed doing that thing the whole time you were at Truscott Steel?
Yes, I did the same job until the war was over.
Okay, very good. What were the conditions like at the mill at that time?
As far as working conditions was concerned,
Yeah.
the Navy came in and I wouldn't say designed, but fixed up the things that the way they wanted them to be for us to start working.
Okay. Did what kind of challenges did you face each day when you went into work?
Well, we knew what we were going to do, so it wasn't necessarily any challenges, and we worked 3 shifts.
Okay. What shift were you on?
All 3.
You did shift work. How often did they change your shift?
We worked 1 week at a time.
Oh.
The same time.
And then you'd go day after?
7 to 3 and 3 to 11 and 11 to 7.
When you were changing shift, how did changing shifts affect your life?
It didn't.
It didn't?
Whatever you had to do, you did it. Because at the time I was young and single, so it really didn't matter.
Were you still living with your parents at that time, too?
Yeah, because I was just out of school.
Yeah, so you were young still. Very good. Which shift did you prefer to work?
It didn't matter to me.
Didn't matter.
No, when I worked 11 to 7, I could make it until 6:30. When 6:30 came, you could look at the clock and know it was 6:30 because I was doing this. The whole 5 days when 6:30 came out.
What was your working relationship like with the people you worked with?
Oh, we were all camaraderies or whatever, changing shifts. We would josh each other or something or whatever, and I'll see you in the morning or when you come back tonight, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Did you have lots of women working with you, or a blend of men and women, or what?
All the men were gone just about.
Yeah.
I mean, a few older men or some fellows that didn't make their physicals and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But other than that, it was all ladies because they weren't there.
Ladies,
sure,
all ladies.
Mm-hmm. What was management like for you? How were they with the workers back then?
There wasn't too many managers because the manager that we had, he was fairly young, so he would just structure there and keep going.
He just had his own business to get on with, I see.
Whoever was the boss that day, they were in charge. He'd show up and didn't stop walking.
Mm-hmm. And did you go through any strikes or anything while you were at work?
No, not during that time. There wasn't anybody who wanted to strike.
Right.
All the men were gone.
Sure. And since very specifically you were working during the war, let me think of how I want to say, did you feel like you were really helping? Like, did you get a good feeling to be working, or was it just you were at work and this is what you were doing? I don't know if that made very good sense.
Mostly that's what everybody thought. I mean, the older ladies that had sons with grandkids at home or whatever,
mm-hmm.
they kind of felt differently.
I see, yeah. But you were young and single.
Right.
You told me, I heard. I was listening to you. Was there any union there while you were there? Or did you join the union there?
At the steel mills, no, there wasn't any talk of any union at the time, but at the older mills, they were starting to think about it or whatever. There were like a few rowdy guys that were into it.
Yeah. So after the war, and they said thanks for your help, and they cut you loose. What did you do then?
Well, thank you.
They just said thank you, Ethel, but you can go now. What'd you do after that when they let you go from the steel mill?
What did I do? It's been so long I don't even remember.
Or really?
I don't really know.
And did you go back to work somewhere else then? After?
Oh, I worked at one place I worked at was a place called Overall Supply Company.
Okay.
It was on Madison Avenue.
What did you do there?
Shirts.
You made shirts?
Work shirts.
Okay.
They were like a cleaning company. They had covers. They would do covers for moving companies and uniforms from different companies. Like the bakeries would have their uniforms and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And then they had a separate shirt business that they did.
Okay. What was your job there? What did you do?
Shirts.
Like, did you make them?
No.
Clean them?
No. When they came from the laundry, they had to be folded, mm-hmm. and they had forms. You put the collar down and spread the sleeves out, and do the sleeves and up and over and put a band on it.
So they'd get all nice and they would come out crisp and
tight.
tight.
Yeah, they'd all be the same size.
Yeah. What do you remember? What years you were there about?
It wasn't too long after the war was over. Maybe we worked 2 weeks longer.
Okay.
Maybe like at that time it might have been around the second week in August. Of
what? 45? No.
It was still 1944.
Oh, okay. How long were you at Truscott Steel?
The months?
Yeah.
I know it was August when the war was over. I might have started in June or July 1944.
So you were there
when I got out of school,
right when you graduated,
yeah.
And then the war was still on, and you helped until the. Okay, yeah. I understand. How long were you at Overall Supply doing shirts?
Gee, it's been so long.
You can guess. It doesn't have to be exactly.
I was trying to remember when I started. I might have started Overall Supply when the war was over. Mm-hmm. We'll say September 1944, and I quit. Did I work till 1951? I know I quit in 1951.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty good stretch of time there. How did you like working there?
It was lots of fun.
Yeah. Did you work with lots of other women there, or men, or?
There were just a few men. Okay. There was mostly all females because the men still hadn't gotten back home yet.
Yeah. Okay. And
because most of the men that went in the service, their jobs were available for them when they got discharged.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to worry about finding another job. Mm-hmm.
They came back and took their places back, yeah. And sent all
if they wanted to.
If they wanted, okay. Yeah. Okay. What how did you like working at the Overall Supply? How did you like working at the shirt?
I was just happy and go lucky.
Yeah, you're just doing what you do. Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Did they happen to have a union at that shop?
No.
No?
The union wasn't even talked about then. I mean, they had started probably to talk about a few meals. But the unions weren't a problem.
It wasn't everywhere yet. I see.
No.
Okay. What shifts did you work there when you were doing shirts?
Overall supply, they turned
Day turn?
from 7 to 3.
Did you ever do shift work there?
No.
No, always days. Did you like that?
It was fun.
It was good? Very good. So,
I stayed there because I didn't want to be a secretary.
well, sure. Do you prefer to work with your hands more than?
I just didn't like being a secretary. That didn't appeal to me too
Sure.
much.
Good. Well, it's nice that you found something that you did like. That's good.
Well, at the time, the job was needed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they needed the helpers.
What was management like at the shirt company?
He'd come through there first thing in the morning. You wouldn't see him anymore.
And so they just let you do your jobs. And
Yep.
did you ever have any incidences at there or anywhere else you worked too after? I'm just trying to go with time.
No.
No.
You mean problems or anything?
Yeah, problems.
No.
It could be a problem it could be a problem with a man. It could be a problem with a woman. It could be a problem with somebody above you. It could be
No.
or problems with. Did both of those places have facilities for you as a woman? Like, were there restrooms for you?
There was no special arrangements made, but it was always convenient.
They did have something there, though?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it, did it happen to be like, was it like, it was a restroom and it didn't say ladies on it or men's on it, but it was there so you could use it? Does that seem right?
I don't even know if there was a sign on the
Yeah.
door.
Okay. Well, but before you ended up in the steel, before the war was on, right before you graduated and went to the steel mill, it was all men in there, right? Until they left for war, there were no ladies in there before that, right?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, there might have been one or two in the offices or something, or maybe only the CEO had a female secretary.
Mm-hmm. And then in the offices, they may have had something, but then when they had you come in, there was just whatever the guys had, and that's what you got. And it was, you had to...
No. The work came so fast and they needed the help so quickly that things just got pushed along.
Sure.
There wasn't any really special arrangements.
Mm-hmm. You said you worked with a lot of ladies at Overall Supply, so did they have designated ladies' rooms there?
I don't even remember.
You remember? You don't have to. It's fine.
I know there was restrooms there,
Okay.
but most everybody would just, you just do what you were doing and kind of like eat on the side and whatever.
Oh yeah. So when you would have a lunch break, did you get lunch breaks and stuff, or did you just eat and go and?
Maybe we had half an hour for lunch.
Okay. Sounds.
Probably a half an hour for lunch.
Okay. And how was?
But when I worked up at Trustcon, we used to go up to the CEO's lunchroom. Because the main office was across the street, but they would come across the street to the steel mill. They had a special dining room, and we would all go up there for lunch.
Hey, that's all right. When you were at Overall Supply, you said, was there a lot of camaraderie for you at Overall Supply? Or did
everybody was friends, but I mean, there was no I mean, when you got off, you went your separate way or
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah. All right, that's fair. Now, so you were there and you said in 1951 you quit. What were you doing in 1951? You said you left there.
Oh, I got married.
Did you get married? Very good. And did you have kids? Or I should say, how many kids? How many kids did you have? Let me rephrase.
I had 4 altogether.
You have 4? Very good. And you had 4 kids. Did you go back to work after they were a little bit grown, or did you stay home?
I got married.
Very good. That's fine. You don't have to work. All right. So, did you ever, at either of your jobs, did you ever have to report any grievances?
No.
No?
No.
Did you, what did you like the most about your job?
Just going to work.
Just, did you like having a little money in your pocket, I assume?
Of course.
What did you like the least about your job?
I don't think I disliked anything. I wasn't very hard to please.
Good.
Because I did what I was supposed to do. And then stop talking.
Did you ever feel like a minority at your job?
No.
No. There was proper facilities. I already asked you about that. So while you were still working, and obviously you were dating somebody because then you quit work to get married, how did working affect your relationship with the man who would become your husband?
I didn't ask it.
Very good. And were you at the shirt place long enough to get a pension there? Did they get you any kind of retirement for working during that time?
No.
No?
I don't think you could. If you quit, you couldn't even collect unemployment.
Okay. Very good. And do you remember any episodes of accidents at your workplace?
Yeah, because the routine was just so common and the same thing, just about the same time every day.
Okay.
I mean, if there was any accidents or anything, I didn't know about it.
You didn't know about it? Sure. Were there ever any episodes of violence at your workplace?
No.
Okay.
Everybody was friends.
Very good. And then I'll ask you a couple questions about maybe when you were working at the steel mill, just for my own curiosity, did they come in and give you updates about the stuff that you were working on and how it was affecting the war or any of that kind of stuff?
No, because when the war was over, they didn't even tell us we were finished.
Oh no! Well, how did you know you were?
Well, everybody just knew when the war was over that was going to be the end of what we were doing.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, how did that feel?
It didn't bother me because I didn't care at the time.
Okay, that's fair. Because you were young and single. You told me. I'm going to keep coming back to that because I liked how you said it. Do you have any other things about your working life that you'd like to share with me?
Oh, we always had, on Friday nights, we would, at the YWCA building on West Federal Street, General Motors basketball team would play trust card, or if there wasn't enough, it would be a pickup basketball game and a dance afterwards.
Oh.
That was every Friday night.
And they would did the Y put that together for you, or did the Mills put that together and invite you?
Not the Mills, just the people that was involved.
That's nice. Tell me about the dance. Like having a dance night. What?
It was just people would come in and out or whatever. There wasn't any strict rules, and it was at the time it was record players.
Yeah. Okay. So they didn't have a live band. They would just play records for you to dance to. Sure. Oh, very good. That's a good one. Anything else that you want to tell me about?
Oh, we would go someplace to eat.
Yeah. So, when you were in school, did you know you knew you wanted to go to work? It sounds like that was your plan. You wanted to get out there and start making.
My mother knew it.
Making a little money for yourself.
My mother knew it, but my father didn't want to hear it.
Did you want to work so that you could? I guess why did you want to work?
It was just the thing to do at the time or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Just to, and did you feel like that gave you some control over your own destiny a little bit, to have money of your own?
No, because, I mean, as far as the house rules are concerned, the things that we were supposed to do and how far we knew automatically, so that was no problem.
Okay. And then when you'd get paid, did you share at home, or was that your money?
My father told us that whatever my mother said or whatever she wanted to do, that was up to her. Because he had put a roof over our heads and fed us and clothed us and got us that far. So we were supposed to do what Mama wanted done.
Okay.
We were supposed to take care of Mama. And he would pay the bills and all the utilities and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And so you would help
and
your mom?
And everything else was up to her.
Very good. All right. Do you have anything else that you want to share?
My brother ended up buying I knew it was an Oldsmobile. And it was rust colored.
Okay. But it was painted rust colored?
That was the color of the car.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it ended up, my mother had him dragging every old lady in the neighborhood to the grocery store and to the doctor and to the railroad station or whatever they needed.
He was the chauffeur. Hey, well, you said.
He had to help every old lady do whatever she wanted to do, was to the grocery store, to the doctor.
Well, that sounds very sweet.
I said, Mom, he don't have time for himself. That's all right. He could help.
Very good. And where was he working while you were? Is he your older brother or your younger brother?
My older brother.
Uh-huh. And he was working too when you were.
Yeah, he worked with my father.
Oh, okay. And then when he wasn't working, he was driving all your mom's friends around.
Yes.
Very good.
Oh yes, we had to help all the ladies, all the single ladies. In fact, all my mother's friends were single. They were widowers.
Wow. Huh. How did your mom and dad live to be older then and do well, or how
Yes.
how long did they live?
How old was Granddaddy when he died? 80?
84.
He was 84.
84.
I think.
Okay, pretty good. And you said you used to go dancing on the Fridays, and that was after the basketball game.
No, they had the basketball game first.
Right. So after the basketball game, you would go dancing. And did you keep going dancing after you were done working?
No.
No.
No, because I quit working and I just
Well, you had 4 kids.
just backed up. No, I did not then.
You were busy. Is that where you met your husband?
I was always busy.
Yeah.
Because my mother had us taking care of all the ladies in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's true. You did tell me that.
To the grocery store and chauffeuring and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Where did you meet your husband?
We grew up on the same street.
Oh, very good. So you met him when you were little. Did you know he was your special man, or
No,
took you?
I wasn't interested in him.
Well, how did that change?
He didn't give up.
He was
He
persistent.
didn't give up.
Very good. Very good. All right, honey. Well, thanks so much. Do you have anything else? I'll listen to anything you want to tell me.
You don't want to hear anything
Oh, see, those are the good. That sounds like a good, juicy story right there.
No, I was just kidding. No, we were in a very neighborly neighborhood.
It sounds.
Everybody was in and out of everybody's house, and nobody locked their doors and that kind of thing.
It's nice. That's really good.
And we were one of the families didn't have too many children.
How many siblings did you have?
2 brothers.
Oh, just 2 brothers, and you? No sisters for you? Oh, yeah, that's.
We were almost 4 years apart.
Okay. Very good.
Me and my brother used to gang up on the little kids.
Were you in the middle?
Yes,
Okay.
but I was closer to my older brother.
Then to the younger one. Okay.
We used to give him the business.
Very good. All right, Miss
Yeah, he
Ethel.
was a character.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I told my mother, I said, what would you have done if he'd have been the oldest one? It took the 4 of us to raise him. He stayed into something.
He was saucy, huh? He was a feisty.
Oh, yeah, because I can remember one day he fought 2 brothers and beat them both.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And their mother was so mad. I said, well, if 2 couldn't beat up 1, I don't see what the problem is. He was beating both the same time.
So, Miss Ethel, I'm going to ask you some questions about working for the school system then.
Okay.
So, you worked for foot doctors first, is that right?
In Washington, D.C.
And what were you doing in Washington, D.C.?
I was their assistant.
Yeah? How'd you get over there? Because you were from here, so how'd you get to Washington, D.C. to be getting a job like that?
I moved to Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm. Just,
at the time to live.
you just wanted to go live there? Or what made you move there?
I was just young and dumb.
You were just, hey, no, you already told me you were young and single. You do what you want. And you worked for doctor's offices there. And what was it like working for them?
I didn't work too long because my mother hurt herself, and I came home and I stayed
Okay.
because I didn't want to leave her in the shape that she was in.
Sure.
But they were chiropodists.
Okay.
Yeah, they were foot doctors.
Okay. And then you came back to the Valley and you went to school, or you went to work for the school system.
After a while, yes.
Yeah. When was that, do you think?
$1949. I did lots of volunteer work when the kids were in school.
Oh, okay. So in 51 you got married and you started having your children, and then maybe in the 50s you started volunteering at the school?
Oh, I was volunteering before then.
Before then, okay. And then, so through volunteering, is that how you got your job at the school?
The principal begged me.
No, he begged you. Which school was that?
Standby Elementary School.
Okay. And what did you do then after he begged you to join? What was your job?
Everything.
Everything.
Because when he would go to meetings and stuff, he would tell me, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm. And you had to take care of it. What kind of job title did they give you?
I didn't have one.
You didn't have one. You were like an assistant to him then, and you did all the things?
He knew I knew what was supposed to be done, so he didn't have a headache.
There we go. Sorry, I'm gonna put that over there by you. What was it like working at the school?
It was fun.
It was fun. Who did you work with mostly? Women, men, teachers, nobody?
The whole school system.
Everybody.
I mean, the whole school building.
Okay.
Custodians, the teachers, and
Mm-hmm.
principal.
What did you like the most about working there?
Everything.
Everything. What did you like the least about working there?
I didn't have any.
You didn't have anything? What types of, can you think of anything specific that you did at the school?
I assisted the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
The principal would just tell me he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Or he was leaving.
Mm-hmm. When he would go, would they come to you when they needed things then? Everybody?
They did if he was in the building.
Oh. How did you, and you helped the teacher, did you work with the kids then too?
The teachers, the kids, and then when the Board of Education started the food programs, he just told me that the job was mine.
Okay. So how did that work?
I did the tickets for each teacher had to have tickets for each student for lunch, because I didn't do anything for breakfast. I just told another lady she could have that job.
Okay.
And for lunch, I sold the tickets. I gave the tickets to the driver. He brought the lunches. I counted the lunches and whatever else. And I would take a break and come back to school and serve the lunches and order the milk. Because at the time they were getting the milk from milk companies.
Okay.
And you had, at first, when it started, I had to call in the milk order every day for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Like Friday, I would do it for Monday.
So you would do that based on how many students you had that you were plotting out and planning the lunches then?
Whatever I wanted, I would order how many I wanted.
Okay. How did the milk come when you were doing that job? In the little...
The driver would bring it on a truck.
Uh-huh.
And leave it at the school. I had a special cooler in the lunchroom and a key.
Did it come in like gallons or...
No, pint bottles.
In the pint bottles. Okay. When you said the teachers had to give you tickets...
No, I gave the teacher tickets.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And so the tickets were for their classroom, and
yes,
and they would give
each teacher
mm-hmm.
had tickets for her students, and the adult tickets would be the same color, but they were more.
Okay.
The adults could order lunches if they wanted to.
Okay. And so the teachers had to take the money from the kids to get the ticket to eat lunch.
I did it.
You did it.
But then they started the teachers doing it.
Okay. And then if you didn't want to buy your lunch, the kids could bring a sack lunch if they wanted to, right?
Most of the kids were on free lunches or either reduced lunches.
Okay. And how did you have to work on that part too?
Yes.
To figure out who qualified?
They had to fill out an application if they didn't want to pay the full price.
Okay. And it was based on how much your parents made to see if you qualified for that?
It was based on the household salary.
Okay. Was that kind of new at the time? Helping kids with the cost of lunch?
Yes.
I'm not personally aware of when that started to happen.
Maybe 19... I was there in 1951, so maybe 19... Gosh, it's been so long. But what year was it, Wade? Because you used to come in and out of the school.
I think you worked at the school from when you were 57. I think you retired at 77. So you're 98, so that's 21 years ago. So then you back that up another 20 years.
Mm-hmm. So the school, getting help for school lunches started somewhere in there, probably the late 50s, early 60s maybe then. Does that seem right? When they started helping the kids with lunches to pay for lunch?
Maybe like 1949. Just a rough guess.
Okay.
Maybe a year before.
Mm-hmm. So you worked a couple different places. And which one did you like the best, any?
Well, the longest I stayed at was with the school lunch program.
Mm-hmm. And did you like it?
Yes.
And you were on day turn all the time there, right?
Yes.
And how were your coworkers there?
I was the coworker.
You were the coworker. Because you
I
had
liked myself pretty good.
you liked yourself the best. So you had this position and you were but there was nobody working with you on this, and because you were busy, you didn't really get to interact with a lot of the other staff there. Does that seem right?
Yes,
Okay.
every day.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, ma'am. That sounds good. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about your experience at the school. Did the school didn't have a union, did they?
Not to my knowledge.
Not that you okay. And this was earlier than the schools have union contracts now. Okay. That sounds good.
I think they were just starting to, I can't say just starting, but they were really pushing it about that year.
Okay.
For the school system and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because part of the steel mills had a rough time. Because the old sheet and tube up in Briar Hill, the governor called in the National Guard.
Yes. Yeah.
And we used to walk over to Evans Field for baseball. And the soldiers would be standing under, it was a tunnel then to go from the west side to the old West Federal Street.
Uh-huh. Did you have to...
And the National Guard would be in the tunnel.
So you had to go by there when that was happening?
Yeah.
Oh. What else?
Just walk through the tunnel. I mean, they were just standing up there with their guns and whatever. We didn't bother them, and they didn't bother us.
And they didn't bother you. Okay. Wow. So, do you remember anything else about that big strike they had?
Well, before the strike, the circus would come up to Evans Field, behind the old West Federal Street Y, in that section. That's where the circus used to come, Ringling Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, how was that?
It was fun.
Would they come every year?
Sometimes it all depends on their schedule or whatever. Because I know one year they came up to, the circus was up Meridian Road, and it rained, and the mud was up to your knees.
And did you get to go, when the circus did come, did you get to go?
Yeah, you could go because they let you in and you could peep under the tent. you could peep under the tent.
Very good. And then, and you said your dad worked at U.S. Steel, but that big sheet and tube strike, did you see any of the craziness, or did you stay away when they were on strike?
We would go from the west side over to the north side to baseball games and stuff, but I mean, I don't think it was as bad as the newspapers made it be. I mean, there was occasional outbreaks of fights and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But not like no riot stuff.
Okay. And it wasn't all the time. They were just on strike, and sometimes
it was all, you know, two guys get in each other's faces and that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, since you mentioned it, I mean, like that's a thing that we're real interested in here, so I thought I'd ask you what you remember about that. Yeah, that's good. Wow, that's a lot more good stuff. What else do you got for me, doll? Tell me.
I don't know. What do you want to know? You ask me questions.
I know. I'm out of questions, but there's a lot more there, huh? Well, let me ask you this. When your dad was working at the mill and you were little, before you went to work, did you ever have to go there?
Women, my father didn't want me to go in the mill. And that's one thing I never forgave him for. He took one of the neighbor's boys in my place. And to this day, I still think about it.
He took him in there to work or just to visit?
No, they had open house.
Oh, uh-huh.
Which was a rare thing.
Yeah. Well, because it's dangerous and dirty in there.
Yeah, but they got ready for the open house.
Oh, mm-hmm. And you wanted to go?
Oh, yes.
How old were you then?
Maybe 15, 16.
Okay. So not little.
No,
yeah,
not tiny.
But you wanted to see.
No. That's no place for ladies. You know who he took? Jim Johnson.
What made you want to go in there? What made you want to go in there so bad?
They was having open house.
You just wanted to see what was going on?
I just wanted to go in the mill. They have an open house.
No. That's no place for a lady.
That's no place for ladies.
Well, later you got to go in a different mill and you did the work, so.
It was completely different, though.
Well, yeah, different.
Because Tuscon didn't have any blast furnaces and stuff.
Right. Yeah. They were doing more end product work then.
Well, after I got old, I kind of thought about it. I thought maybe he might not want me to go because he fell in one of those hot ladles.
What? Tell me about that. How'd that happen?
I don't know how it happened or whatever, but he fell in there and he pulled himself out, and where he put his hands over the top of the rim,
mm-hmm.
My mother said all the flesh came off and his stomach stuck to the inside of the, what is it called?
The bucket or the
Vat?
a vat.
Yeah.
To inside of the inside of the vat.
The vat was hot.
Sure, yeah, but it was obviously it had to be empty because he would have.
No.
It had hot metal in it.
The metal was hot, but it wasn't up.
It wasn't.
He didn't fall down far enough to get all the way, but the outside of the vat was hot, and he grabbed
to get himself out. Wow, lucky. I mean, that could have been even worse. But I bet those birds were real bad.
He was lucky quite a few times because when he was during World War I, his stomach froze to his foxhole.
What? Wow. Where do you remember where he went in World War I?
He was in France. Not too far from Paris.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he was in the trenches, huh? Oh my God. Wow. Would he talk about it?
He would talk to, every once in a while, he would talk to my neighbor, because my neighbor went to the same place in France where he was.
Mm-hmm.
He made it a point of going.
Yeah, to go help, to go join.
He
and help?
he was doing World War II, and he was shipped to Paris for some reason or whatever. But anyway, I know, because every once in a while, him and my father would talk. He would do the talking, but my father wouldn't say too much.
No, he didn't want to talk about it. Okay. Wow, that's...
He never really wanted to talk about things that happened to him.
Do you feel like that was his generation, that they didn't want to talk about it, that it was over and they're just moving on? Or what? You knew those guys. What were they like? Men in your dad's generation.
Well, I was never around too many or whatever, but my father just mostly kept his stuff. It's kind of like, why talk about it?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
But every once in a while he'd run into somebody or whatever. Believe it or not, my father's nurse in France was my school nurse. What was her name?
Do you remember?
Her last name was Eccles.
Echoes.
I don't know what her first name was, but I know she was Miss Eccles. And my father was walking me to kindergarten, and she looked out the school window and she recognized him.
Wow.
And it was, that would be like 3 blocks from the school.
Yeah. Huh. How about that? That's a good story too. See, you're full of good stories. I just don't know the best questions to ask. I wish I had more good ones.
Okay.
Good? All right. Well, thank you so much. That was
You're
excellent.
welcome.